Hello, and it's us again. Welcome back. We've just popped back to the flat because we got caught in a thunderstorm. So you can see that now.
Monsoon.
We've just seen our second show, which was Love in the Time of Lockdown. It's theatre, true life. I don't know if it's true life. Well, true life. I don't think it's true life in the sense of, is it? Would you say? It says true life, new writing. So make of that what you will. I wasn't thinking that any of it was real.
No, I wasn't.
You can't. It's not an iPad. So we've got a laptop down here which you can't see. It's just out of screen, and yeah, it's trying to touch the screen. So this show was at 1:25 in the afternoon at the Space at Surgeons Hall, Bevan Theatre, and it was a pretty full. Well, I think it was a full house. Social distancing still applies. What they'd done is they sort of put the chairs out in bubbles or blocks, rows of 4, I think, wasn't it? There was only 2 of us, obviously sat in a row of 4, and then they sort of spread them out. Currently, we're still wearing masks, but actually, I don't know whether you looked round. Most people actually, once the actual play started, were not.
No, I did take mine off at one point.
I mean, you could take your mask off because and drink, because we've been doing that all the time, but actually a lot of people weren't keeping their masks on. So I'm just going to read you the bit of the blurb that comes off the Fringe website, and the reason we picked this was because it says it's the sellout Brighton Fringe show that will have you laughing, crying and talking about how lockdown was for you, for your neighbours and for your friends, from harrowing to hilarious. Sex, cars and face masks. Love never stops. Not even in lockdown. There's 17 characters, and you were trying to work out exactly how many sort of mini plays we saw. How many?
I've got 15. I'm missing 2.
You think there was 17, but we've only got 15 down in the list, and actually I can't remember them either. But if there was any more,
I think I've got them all. But anyway.
So it's worth mentioning that if you now go on the Fringe website. There's no allocation from the 6th to the 10th. Today's the 6th, but there is allocation for the 11th to the 14th. It finishes on the 14th of August. Now, just because it says it's red and there's no allocation, that means that you'd have to contact the venue. There may well be seats or returns or that sort of business. So don't give up if you want to see it on one of those dates, because it may be you'll just have to contact the venue. Now, we know the guys at the Space. They're brilliant, aren't they? I mean, we're actually going to use we popped in to see Nick, the press agent, and we're going to use a bit of their space to actually try and upload some of this content maybe tomorrow. So the guys there are great. So talk to the box office at the Space, which you can access through the Fringe website. There's a link down below. I'm just going to check to make sure that there is more details. Down on dates, some times and prices. Actually, there isn't. I'll put it in the description down below, so you can go directly to the Space box office if you can't actually get the date that you want to go. So.
Can I just also add that on the website it does suggest it's for 16 years and above. Yeah, there's not much. There's no nudity. There's a little bit of effing and jeffing, and it's probably.
But a couple of the themes are adult. Yeah. But it's not racy or any of that sort of business. I actually thought it might be.
Well,
what?
The car.
And we'll get to the car. I actually said to Jane before it started, what was it? I said, Dad, I thought that this might be a bit rude, is how I described it. But I said we're all right. We can do rude.
That was based on.
That was based on nothing.
Exactly.
Really. So what did you think of it?
Well, I like productions that are short, one-act scenes, and that's what it was. It was a collection, obviously with the theme of love in lockdown, and I, on the whole, thought it was, there was lots of observations that we all smiled at, or we could relate to. I mean, obviously some of the themes were lighter, some were quite dark in tone.
Yeah.
People's frustrations, and
it covered everything from social distancing, didn't it?
It did, to
wearing masks, having your jab, because that was one of the
and just sort of things that we obviously took for granted and we can't now, and it just highlighted some of that. And like I say, I mean, some of it was funny. I laughed quite a number of times.
I think I laughed less than you, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I'm also. You can tell me what you actually, whether you do think this is true, but I think you liked it more than me. I think there was one really, really good, funny mini plays, which was The Girl in the Car.
Which, I don't know, because we sort of give it away.
If we tell them what the
because
I don't think we should give it away.
I don't think we should.
No, but there's always a caveat with me, isn't it? I actually thought the audio, because she's on stage talking as though she's in a car, and the audio coming through the speakers.
Yeah.
Now this is a technical thing to some extent, but I found it was actually too loud. But it's first day. So they get a pass for that, because that sort of thing will be sorted out in probably the next couple of performances.
Yeah,
you didn't think that?
I didn't really think that, and I just thought. Okay. But that's the racy one.
Yeah, it is.
And
the funniest for me.
And it was very well done, and all I can say is that the voice was perfect. Yeah, don't want to say any more about that, but that is very, very well executed.
Yeah.
It really is. The one that I had, and this is obviously, these are all personal opinions, the one that was apparently based on a Samaritans type organisation. They
Two
were
girls sat on laptops with.
Yeah. They were like, help, phone line support. And they had some characters ringing them. Now, I'm not saying that they didn't do it for laughs, but there were some moments where it was, I think, done for amusement. I'm not saying that they, in any way, shape or form, that they were making light of what telephone support services do and how people are when they access those. But I just question that scenario being included for entertainment value. I
mean, it's interesting you say that. I didn't feel that. I didn't feel that. I mean, for me, like I say, I think I liked it, all of the pieces less than you, apart from the one. I mean, that was the highlight for me. For me, it was when it was funny, and I'm not picking any of the particular players out in. When it was funny, it was more of a titter than a belly laugh. The only one that really, really I thought was brilliantly funny was The Girl in the Car. All the rest of them just slightly missed for me, but that could be my sense of humour. I don't know.
But I mean, there was one, a very lonely lady in a house. Then her neighbour walked past. They didn't actually interact at all in the scene, but a neighbour walked past, and she then spoke to the audience, and obviously the other lady did as well. Now that was really, done very sensitively, and the mood dropped because it was
darker.
It was
darker.
darker.
He actually says that they do, some of this is darker
and I thought
stuff.
that was done well. I think the actual standard of acting by all the all the actors was great. Very believable.
Can I ask you about one specific bit, which is in the Samaritans? In the Samaritans, they did sort of 2 or 3 people ringing in, and then towards the end of that, they had 2 at the same time. Now, for me, and so you've got 2 conversations going on at once, both different. That really didn't work for me, and I wondered what you thought about that.
It was very difficult to keep watching both. Bearing in mind it was slightly complicated because one of the second pair that rang in was directly related to a previous call.
Right, yes. Yeah.
So you were almost trying to listen to that conversation because it was directly linked, when in fact they were both linked to previous callers. So it was almost a continuation of the narrative.
That's the one that's missing off your list. That lady with the 2 children. Oh no, that was part of the Samaritans, wasn't it?
I made that. Oh no, but you're right, because actually there were 4 characters.
Yeah.
Those are the 2.
Yeah,
so we haven't missed anybody else.
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
That was quite an interesting idea, but because previously they'd had the person on the telephone and the person who called in, it was obviously a separate dialogue. And then the second half of that whole scene, you had like 2 conversations going on, but they were both linked to the previous conversations, which, sorry if that sounds complicated.
Well, it is complicated. And actually, when I was sat there watching it, I was struggling to keep focus.
It was an interesting idea.
And I actually wondered whether they'd meant it so that those 2 separate conversations almost become like one, but they didn't for me. So it's almost like one of those questions that you'd ask them. Yeah. What were you getting at to try and do that? Cause, like I said,
and just going back to what it says in the blurb, that they're based on real or true events. I think does it call it true events or true life or something? True life.
True life.
So maybe the telephone support service, somebody in the cast actually was involved in those exact conversations.
I think we need to say it wasn't branded as a Samaritans. They branded it as their own.
Well, that's why I'm not using that word anymore. But I'm just trying. That's why I'm calling it a telephone support service. But I have. Maybe I should just. Maybe I'm too serious about this. I have experience from operating a telephone support service, so that's maybe why I'm too close to it.
Maybe you are,
and that's maybe why I feel.
I didn't feel that at all. So I looked at it as a piece of theatre.
Yeah.
It wasn't. You're right. It wasn't meant. I don't think it was meant to be funny. It wasn't the darkest piece.
No.
And clearly, those sort of support services throughout the lockdown have been really, really important for an awful lot of people. And I don't think they were poking fun at it.
No. I didn't say that.
No, I didn't. I know you didn't. I'm just saying that.
No.
So.
But I think overall, because there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 scenes. They all highlighted an element.
Different element
of lockdown. And I thought I thought it was there was entertainment. And I thought some of the characterizations were very, very good.
Right, stars. I'm going to give it 3 stars.
Yeah.
You think the same?
Yeah.
So it's a 3-star show.
Go with that.
It's certainly, if it sounds like your sort of thing, go see it, and let us know down below in the comments if what you thought about it. Because, as we always say with this thing, we are just one pair of people that don't always have the same opinion anyway, and we're not right. So tell us what you think about it. Okay?
Yeah.
So we are now we're trying to set up for our next show of the third show of today, which will be the last show. That's not the trilogy, which is an online thing, and we're going to try and, well, we're actually trying to get the codes thing sorted out, but
that's
but actually we need to, I'm going to go through the process because it's a convoluted process. You have to use a phone app, you've got to log on a good hour before the actual thing. We need to be on a park bench, but it's been thundering and lightning, so we're probably going to stay here and pretend to be on a park bench and a car, and we're going to pretend to be here, but that's next. Okay, so thanks so much for watching. If you like what we do, hit the subscribe button, and you can always ding that little bell if you want to be notified when we put content up, but it's every day at the moment. So we'll see you next time.
Okay,
cheers,
bye.
bye bye.
Bye.